what's the main problem that we're trying to fix? Because remember, right now we are going to be engineers. We're doing Juan Dana's job. We're going to be engineers. And we need to ask ourselves, what is the problem we are trying to fix?
How to keep the frog moist.
Very good. How to keep the frog moist. So remember, the frog, all the water cannot go on the frog all at the same time. So it needs to kind of drip, and it needs to last for 24 hours. We're doing everything in the process. Remember, we have to follow steps. So we ask ourselves the question. We kind of set what our constraints were. So now we're going to stop and we're going on to the next step, which is imagine. What do we do when we imagine? Joshua? Plan. Not plan yet. Not plan yet. But what do we do when we imagine? Amani?
Imagine how is our product mean? How is our design going to look? Very
good. You kind of imagine what are the things that you're going to do. What is your design going to look? So what we're going to do is you're going to brainstorm some ideas independently. And you're going to draw your idea. Okay? You're going to draw your design. Now remember, this is the container where all your materials are going to be placed inside. So when you draw your plan, when you brainstorm your idea, you have to make sure you take into consideration this is where all the materials are going to go. Now, each of you are going to come up with your own idea first. Then, as a group, you will decide on the best design. Now, this is when you have to sit there and say, you know what, I really, really like my design. I worked really hard creating it and designing it, but I like how Kaylin used the sponges, you know, or I really like how Alexis placed the felts and the coffee filter. I'm just kind of throwing out ideas here. So you're not just saying, oh, no, your design stinks. No, it doesn't stink. You know what? You could just be improved. Maybe you could get all your designs and put into one. This is when you need to learn how to work as a team. Now, when you draw your design, what are some important things you need to have in your drawing? When you're brainstorming your ideas and you're drawing how you want your design to look like, what should you also have?
Materials.
Okay, you have maybe materials. What else? Let's say if I have a picture like this, and I have my container, and I have something here, here. What's missing?
The labels.
The labels, okay? You need to make sure that you label so that way as you're looking at your design and you're talking with your classmates, you could see, okay, you know what, we both have this material, or we all decided to use this material, okay? So you have to make sure to label your design. It should take into consideration you have 24 hours to let the water go through, and the water can't go too fast, but the water can't go too slow. So think of the materials and what the properties of certain materials did. Okay, and again, this is independently, so you're doing this for 6 minutes on your own, then you will work as a group. So you guys may begin. Remember to revisit the packet that you were working on yesterday, because it has all the information with the materials that you use, what your groups thought were the best materials to use.
So now that you have the three that you would like, when you design it, in which order would you like to place it in?
Okay, so I want you guys to stop for a second. I know some of you are kind of still working on labeling. That's fine. I walked around and I saw a lot of you do a really nice job labeling either how many pieces of material you're going to be using, where it's going to place, why you chose it. Now what I need you guys to do is, you're not done brainstorming. That was just you getting your ideas on your paper. Now in your team, in your group, you're going to decide and brainstorm which one is the best design. Now, can I ask a question? Are you allowed to mix designs?
Yes.
Yes. Your goal is not just to pick your design. Your goal is to create the best design to make sure that the frog stays moist for a certain period of time. 6 minutes. Begin.
I'll go first. We put the sponge on top, then we put the foil on the bottom, then we put the coffee filter at the bottom of the foil. And I said that I picked this because the sponge will soak up the water and drop it down to the foil. Then it will drop down to the filter, and the filter will drop it down to the bottom of the foil.
Maybe you can compromise, like maybe.
How about this? We just put the tank, mix it up.
put all on together. What happens if we put the coffee filter in the sponge, then the cotton balls on top of it? Maybe it'll be like too much stuff and the water actually will go down.
So if you were to add coffee filters, for example, you remember this is your project.
We could try it.
I'll do the sponge and the cheesecloth because the cheesecloth won't go on top. The sponge will go on the bottom. The sponge is so good.
But the cheesecloth get a little soaky and get faster.
But I don't agree with that because, like, you know how when we put the cheesecloth, it's not all of you.
Mine is different. I put the sponge on top instead of the cheesecloth because the cheesecloth gets wetter and it pours all the water to the sponge and it drips fast. You can put y'all two together.
But I put the coffee filter.
Yeah, I can put that.
Then we can put all of it together.
You can't put all of it together.
We can use the sponge. We can use the felt. And you can also use try the cheesecloth.
Those were good ideas.
Now, I will say I'm enjoying the conversations. You guys are really trying to think about it. A lot of you are trying to compromise and work with one another. Now, you might not have chosen the best idea just yet, or you might be in the process. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of keep that in mind, but we're going to start off maybe with the next step. What's the next step of the process that we're going to be working on? Thank you. Planning, okay? When you turn to the page, I want to say 4-7, should be this one, designing the model membrane, you will be drawing your final design on here. Then you will list the materials, okay? Be very careful. I want to know how many of each. If you say coffee filters, how many coffee filters? Okay? You could use, we tested out 10 and you saw what that did. So I want you guys to think, maybe should we use less? Should we use more? It's important to label because one, it helps us stay on task. It's very easy to, once you start getting your materials and you start putting in, to say, oh, you know what? Maybe we could put this instead. Oh, let's try this, let's try this, let's try that. But that's not really the design that you're testing. You're kind of just happy-go-lucky with the materials, putting them in the container. And having the list of materials, it helps us stay organized. Because what you're going to do is, you will start planning, drawing, and labeling your diagram. You will have one person from that group come to me, come to this table with your materials list, to collect the materials that you will be using, okay? Because after this, what's the next step? Create. Very good.
What if, like, we put Charles, like, stuff right here, but the coffee filter right here, and then put, like, the sponge and cheese.
Good idea.
And then the cotton ball.
The coffee filter put too much water inside the bucket. It don't have to go like this.
But what about one?
I think we should do it like this. And then like over the hole and then pour the water and see what happens.
This is going to be just a test run. Because then afterwards, if you will have time to improve it, the final test will be at the end of the class.
Okay.
Okay?
Ready? What's happening?
It's going down. It's dripping. That's cool. I think the frog would like really survive here.
Sponge is melt already.
I think the coffee filter gonna get too much water and drips.
Yeah,
Really
that's
fast.
the good thing about that.
The drip pollutes fast.
It's not the good thing. It's dripping too fast.
Yeah, but
So it's drip slow. So it's drip in the middle.
You guys ready for the test?
Yeah.
it's dripping.
7 coffee filters.
Okay. So what's happening?
It's
Dripping
dripping.
fast.
Right? So what do you think about your design so far?
I think it's gonna at least make it up here, right here. At least right here. It's gonna take a while for it to get up there.
The sponge absorbs it.
the sponge is letting it go. But now, since it's right here, the coffee filter gotta do all the work and try to get the trip all the water right there.
Slow. My decision was to make the coffee filter was because I think that the water will go down easily and not it will drip, but not have too much water going. But I think that all of our designs work because we go all to make one.
Yeah.
So it's mostly all of our designs put together to make one.
Okay, we're going to get ready to do the final test because what's going to happen is once our designs are made and are ready, everyone will be pouring the water at the same exact time. We'll cover them, okay, with aluminum foil, and then tomorrow morning when we come in, we're going to do the final steps. That's when we're going to look at our design, answer the questions, and then if we need to improve our designs, we will. I'm setting the timer for 10 minutes. You should start getting ready for your final test.
We can change
You need this.
yeah, we can change that for the filter. Yeah, and change, you can use that because
So we could use both the sponge
and the coffee filter. Okay, go get it.
our final design is a coffee filters.
How many?
10 coffee filters and 1 sponge.
Now tomorrow, like I said, we did the final test today. Tomorrow morning, we're going to check our design and then we're going to do our final step, which is what? Improve. What I like about lesson 4 is when they actually get to build it and try it out. And then when they see it doesn't work. I like when it doesn't work the first time because then they sit there and discuss, okay, what didn't work? Maybe we should try this out. So it kind of forces them to think, which is unfortunately they don't get a lot of time to just think about things, think outside the box. I allow my students to do almost like a pre-test before they do the actual testing, just because they're not used to, since we don't do this all the time, they have to kind of get broken into the idea of, okay, you're creating your design and you're going to test it, but it's that initial test, So I like to let them, especially if I have enough materials, because they're surprised at how quickly the water travels, and that's what happened with a lot of the groups. They saw that the water did travel, and they're like, okay, wait, we need to add something here to allow the water to go a little bit slower. And one tip that I would give teachers is have the kids echo back, tell you what they need to do. Because there's one thing telling them, and they'll tell you yes, 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 but then when you leave them alone, it's, okay, what are we supposed to do? I always like to, okay, someone else tell me what should we be doing now? What's the next step? What are we doing after that? And definitely try to keep a timer. I get sometimes people nervous. I love using timers because it keeps them focused. They know they have a certain amount of time to get this done. They don't have time to fool around and play. They have to get this done when the timer goes off.